we understand that the liberation of Palestine is tied with the liberation of all peoples, right? A lot of the policing strategies that are being used in this country are also coming from so-called Israel. She has been very much a copy of Republicans from the 2010s, right? That we have been very much consistent for the first time, where there is a Holocaust actually happening in Gaza right now. But so long as the U.S. imperialism has its foothold in these Arab countries, we're not going to see a reaction, and we're going to be disappointed about it. Make sure that the party in power, the Democratic Party, understands that they cannot get away with a genocide that they've sponsored and funded. And absolutely, I mean, it is our responsibility as Muslims, one, for people that are being oppressed, and not just Palestinians, but for all oppressed people. It's our when we look at Palestine and the things that are happening in the region, we see that a lot of the issues that we face as indigenous folks, as oppressed folks, everywhere in the world is very much tied and has the same exact issues that Palestinians are facing, down to the weapons that are being used on them, down to the kinds of tactics, military tactics that are being used on them. A lot of the policing strategies that are being used in this country are also coming from so-called Israel. So we have the responsibility, not just as Palestinians, but as everyone here in this country, to make sure that people are aware and can get involved in a correct way. Yeah, so I can tell you, as a person who's been active for Palestine for as long as I can remember, this has been the most that I've seen Americans get engaged and really talk about Palestine as an issue and not as something that can come and go as a trend, right? That we have been very much consistent for the first time, as a country, to try to bring awareness to the Palestinian cause and to make sure that people understand why we're fighting for it. Two reasons I can say. The first reason is the resistance uprising on October 7th. That garnered a lot of worldwide attention. The second is the catastrophic backlash by Israel, right? The kind of backlash that we don't see in our lifetimes, the thing that we see maybe once every 100 years, where there is a Holocaust actually happening in Gaza right now. So those two things, I think, alongside with the student encampments, have really generated a kind of response that, once we feel like it's dying down, it picks right back up, right? Absolutely. I mean, it is our responsibility as Muslims, one, for people that are being oppressed, and not just Palestinians, but for all oppressed people. It's our job and our responsibility to see justice and to enact it if we have the ability and the power to. The fact that, Arab majority nations and Arab nations as a whole are taking the stance of, well, we'll see what happens, or they'll put a statement here and every now and then, is a result of, unfortunately, U.S. imperialism, right? That is part of the problem in this entire thing, is that, Arab countries, if they had a correct and stable government that represents their people, we would see a kind of appropriate reaction to Israel. But so long as the U.S. imperialism has its foothold in these Arab countries, we're not going to see a reaction, and we're going to be disappointed about it. Kamala Harris, right? We've seen her in the DNC, and we've seen her in a recent CNN interview. She has been very much a copy of Republicans from the 2010s, right? She's talking about pro-fracking. She's talking about pro-border wall. She's talking about, of course, defending Israel till its last breath. Those kinds of policies that are very Republican policies, she's adopting them, and she's pro those policies. So when we look at the option that we have between someone who is a Republican from, let's say, 8 years ago to a Republican who was, very much pro-Trump, there's really not much of an option us Palestinians can take and as people who are pro-Palestine can take, except either to vote for third party or to sit the election out. And because that's the thing too, we have a responsibility as a people to make sure that the party in power, the Democratic Party, understands that they cannot get away with a genocide that they've sponsored and funded and have become basically the co-signer of, to then win another election because of it, you know. I honestly, I wouldn't really call myself a proud American. I see myself as a person who, because of this country, I was forced to be here. If it wasn't for U.S. imperialism and if it wasn't for its, coalition with Israel, I would still probably be in my home country with my family. Right? But here I am here in Bakersfield, California, or in Fresno, California, or in this country, you know, that's occupying Yokutsland. It's the reason why we're here. So we've always known that America, if you're president, you're going to go to AIPAC and you're going to say, I'm going to do everything I can to defend Israel. But it's become so blatantly obvious, right? When you see Israel killing children, killing families, beheading babies, like we've actually seen footage of that on our Instagram feeds. And then literally a scroll later, you'll see Biden talking about a myth of 40 beheaded babies on October 7th. Those kinds of things, when you see it, it radicalizes you, you know, in a sense that makes you feel like, wow, this country really wasn't it. And we knew that, but they show it. Always. That's the thing. At the end of the day, the Palestinian struggle is all about hope, right? We want to see a free Palestine. We want to see liberation for all. And if we don't have hope in our movements, then what are we doing, right? So.